wonderful to see so many smiling faces and interested faces. And so we want to make sure that we keep the spirits up. We have a lot of information to report, so we're going to go get ready to convene our meeting. Ask first clerk for a roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Trustee Norwood.
Present.
Trustee Stan Brown is absent. Trustee Tammy Brown.
Present.
Trustee House.
Present.
Trustee Holmes is absent. Trustee Dolton.
Here.
We have a quorum. And I'm sorry, we did not start the meeting that week. The meeting is 6:33 p.m.
Thank you very much. This meeting is properly called by three trustees, Trustee House, Trustee Belcher, and Trustee Tammy Brown. We want to make sure we mark on the record, in the absence of the mayor is not present with us. I'm convening it as Mayor Pro Tem, and this meeting is properly called with 48 hours notice. First, we're going to ask everybody to do the pledge, stand for the pledge, allegiance, followed by prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll ask that we remain standing, and I'll ask former trustees Valerie Stubbs if she can lead us in prayer, please.
Can everybody hear me? Can you bow your head, please? Heavenly Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus just to praise your name another day. And thank you for your mercy and grace that you have stored upon us. Thank you for allowing us to assemble here, Father. And I thank you for watching over everybody that live in and outside of the village of Dolton, Father. Heavenly Father, I come to you asking that we have a peaceful meeting. And I thank everybody that's in attendance. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. Okay, first order of business is general announcements. I'll ask the board if there are any general announcements to be made at this time.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to remind you this coming Saturday, tea with the trustees in this room, 14700 Evers, Left Alone Field House, will be tea with the trustees, 9:30 a.m. All the people we see here, we definitely want to see you guys Tuesday. We have awesome information every second. I'm sorry, this Saturday. We definitely have awesome information that we also share on those second Saturdays of every month. So please, please, please come out and join us. It's actually for you, the residents. Of course, you know, in the board meeting, you don't get a chance to, it's supposed to be citizens address instead of citizens comments. So this is the time for you to come out and tell us what you want to see done, and hopefully we can get those things taken care of. So please come out this Saturday, not Tuesday, 9:30 a.m., right here in this very room. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Any additional comments from the board?
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to say thank you all for coming out. As everyone knows, this information tonight, everybody has been waiting on. So, good to see a lot of Dolton residents out, just because they want to know what's going on with their tax dollars. Please just give like put the respect. It's a wealth of information based on what was just given to us. And once we can take this information, please just work with us on our next steps of whatever we get. I just want just to let everybody know that at this time, if anyone was at the meeting on Monday, you guys see that we are in a financial crisis. And I want you to trust your trustees that we are working for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Trustee Norwood.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I would just first like to say that I'm so happy to see everyone. You all know what they say, a family that stays together. I A family that prays together, stays together, okay? So, I'd also like to just thank our residents, right? To our residents, we know that these last 3 years, have been a little difficult for us, right? We've had to make a lot of tough decisions regarding town as a board. And I thank you all for trusting us, believing in us in the process, and knowing that we have a plan. We have a plan. I think that these last 3 years have made us stronger than ever before. I just want you all to know that I love you guys, and tonight is a good night.
One last thing here, Pro Tem. We definitely want to thank Mr. Lightfoot for taking on, when I tell you, this devastating task. We thank her for taking on this task and helping not only the trustees, but also the residents. Thank you very much.
A few other acknowledgements. I want to make sure that we will be, partnership has been critical for the Board of Trustees and the village as well. Dolton Park District has been a tremendous partner to us, so I want to make sure we give the space and having a meeting over when we've been locked out of our own village hall taxpayer dollars. So I want to give a round of applause to Commissioner Chamberlain, our Commissioner Howard, Commissioner Rosero, Security Force, as well as our President, Cleo Jones, and give them a round of applause. But thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. This partnership means everything to the community and it's part of the way that we move forward. So we want to give that acknowledgement. Further acknowledgement to the hard-fighting Dolton firefighters who come and show up every day. The community loves you, and we appreciate everything that you're doing, and we are working hard to get you guys made whole and made correct. I will have a few other comments about the report, to preface the report, and some of the things we did make sure that it was an independent report, so the board was kind of given some kind of snippets ahead of time, but we wanted to also maintain the integrity of independence. So there's some things we'll be seeing for the first time, some things we've had kind of a heads up to. But it's given us some direction, so I'll preface some more comments. At Monday's board meeting, there were also some actions voted on by the Board of Trustees that have left confusion or ambiguity because the board has voted to begin some layoffs for budgetary reasons, and all of those have not been implemented at this time, or they're in various phases. So we are working with our attorneys, so I asked Attorney McGrath to kind of also give an update to the community on what's going on there.
Thank you, Trustee. A couple of updates since the meeting on Monday night, which a lot of items were brought out, specifically the village's finances, and why we're here today to go into more detail. But the board has decided to implement a hiring freeze. It was not able to be put on this agenda in time, but they want to know that the residents know that there's going to be a hiring freeze. The village is just not able to hire any more employees in any department. There were some layoffs, and there's most likely going to be more layoffs, unfortunately, in the future. Since Monday's meeting, we've also been in a number of instances of harassment in the workplace, threats to employees and elected officials. I've advised all staff and employees to document those incidents, and we are going to forward them to the Cook County Sheriff's Police Department, who, by ordinance, is the Inspector General for the village of Dolton. And they will have the stronger arm to take action in regards to workplace harassment, retaliation, political work happening in the workplace, those kind of things. The ordinance, you get a copy of it. It was passed about 10 years ago. If the clerk can get a copy and post it, I think it would be a good idea to let everyone know what the sheriff is authorized to look into it. It's a lot of it. Well, once again, based on the board's directive, different individuals are following the board's directive. The deputy chief that was placed on administrative leave He disregarded it and showed up the very next day. He then received a notice that he was terminated. Despite being notified that he was terminated and discussion with the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP, he again showed up today. Once again, the mayor has changed a lot since the village hall. Everyone recall how orderly and how nice it was to walk into the village board meeting on Monday night when the Madam Clerk and the trustees had key fobs to get into the village. Once again, this is about the third time that she has changed the lock, so the elected officials do not have access and cannot get into the village hall, which belongs to the people. I got a call from an attorney this afternoon who unfortunately says I have a couple lawsuits that I have to file against the village. It's been pending in court, and I can't serve the village because I can't get to the clerk because the doors to the village hall are locked. So it's causing some real issues, and federal judges are aware of what's going on. But the locks have changed, emails were shut off, and I heard that Mr. Lacey and others have brought in their own IT person in an effort to gain access to their emails that were shut down. I don't know the status of that, but there's a lot of stuff that happens really, really quick. Things happen every day. You just cannot believe what's going on with this administration. But we're doing our best. These board members are doing their best. Ms. Lightfoot has a very good presentation for everyone. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions after, but we move on from there.
Okay, thank you for that update, Attorney McGrath. So that, having said that, we're going to move to the next item on the agenda. We have a few, I think I'll say quicker points that we need to go through, and then we'll go into the presentation. I don't think that should take extremely long. I think we've all had the opportunity to vet these items. So I'll turn it over to the village clerk, Councilman Keith.
Again, most of you guys know that my minutes are never put on the agenda for the regular board meeting, so I have to get them approved here. So I'll quickly go through the minutes, dates, and ask for the board's approval. So I'm asking for approval for minutes for May 6th, May 13th, June 3rd, and July 1st. I'm asking that the board will approve the 4 dates for minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Trustee Norwood.
Aye.
Trustee Tammy Brown.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Belcher.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have nothing under old business. For new business, we put on here, we are still in, this is still a work in progress, but it will be one of the things we are working towards to move the village forward as one of our solutions. We are going to be reassigning the board committees so that we can reinstitute the finance committee, police and fire, personnel committee, housing committee. So that will be forthcoming on an upcoming agenda. We're still kind of identifying, I think we have the chairs identified. We want to make sure that we round it out with good talent. So that will be coming on an upcoming agenda. Item B, we put out an RFP for review for bids on a new towing company, or new towing contract. Want to highlight that we did it in an RFP format so that way we can make sure we get the best bang for our buck. We made sure that there are 2 current tow companies that received the notification, as well as the notification being placed in the public newspaper, the Chicago Tribune. And at this moment, it is my understanding we have received 1 bid in for that contract, so we will be asking for a motion to approve that bid. Okay, the towing contract is with E&R Tow. So I'm gonna I'll make a motion that we accept the bid from E&R Tow Company to move forward with this contract. And I'll ask for a second, please.
Second.
Okay, here a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Belcher?
Just for discussion, I know that you just stated there are two companies right now that are doing the tow. I know in 2021, when we first got in, we approved one. Speaking to that, company, they stated, and I'm waiting a copy of the contract, that their contract is until 2026. So, moving forward, even with vote on this new one, will they still be suing for the village because we have a current contract?
So this proposal would be for them to be the second company while we review their contract. I will say the reason for this RFP going out are numerous complaints that we're receiving on various pricing being done for individuals being told for one day at 500, 700 and fluctuating rates. My concern being that they're violating their contract, is not benefiting the residents of Dolton. And we wanted to make sure that, we want to make sure that we have consistency in the towing fee, and we have a company that's willing to work with the administration as well, and most importantly with the residents. I did highlight or note in the bid that was given, there was a fee for the first day of $225, $25 going back to the residents of the village of Dolton for each tow that's going in there, and they claim to be good community partners. And additionally, they have a tow contract with the city of Chicago, so they are a very large and reputable company. But to answer your question, because I did kind of ramble a lot of things off there, but I just felt triggered, something came through me. The reason was because of contract disagreements. At this moment, it will be two companies, but as we review their contract, it may go down to one.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that on record, because we don't want any pending litigation until we find out exactly what's going on, that they will remain in rotation until we move further. That's all, thank you.
So noted. Any additional comments?
And I'm sorry, that's just for the tow company that we approved for 2021, because although we found out that there are two tow companies, we only approved one.
Correct. Any additional comments? Hearing none, let's clerk for a roll call, please.
Trustee Norwood? Aye. Trustee Tammy Brown?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Belcher? Aye. Motion passed.
Okay, I'm gonna switch the order around quickly, so I'm gonna take D before C. Item D is an ordinance. I'm gonna try to get the terminology. 24-008, an ordinance amending the village code to add the requirement of 2 signatures on checks to allow the mayor pro tem the authority to sign documents. This motion is put in place. The court ordinance has 2 signers on our bank account, the mayor and the clerk, which is the rightful way. We have challenged that before at other court proceedings. This ordinance would allow for if the mayor refuses to do her fiduciary duty to sign checks that the board has approved, it makes sure that the mayor pro tem can sign in her absence. Again, only in the absence or refusal, because we are recognizing that in many cases are refusals to sign, which are delaying many projects similar to the park district and other items. So we've been able to utilize this mechanism to make sure village business continues to go forward in a proper manner. So, and this is a procedural thing that we need as we've been in communication with the bank, because at this moment, we only have, the clerk is the only person that will be authorized if the mayor refuses to sign. So this gives us the mechanism needed for the bank to authorize these signatures as well. So that's the reason for this. I motion that ordinance 24-008 be approved, and I'll ask for a second. Hearing a motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, roll call, please.
Trustee Norwood? Aye. Trustee Tammy Brown?
Aye.
Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Belcher?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, and we're going to cycle back to item C, which is the presentation and preliminary findings from former Mayor Lightfoot. And I have a couple of comments. I don't know if any board members had comments to before I segue to Mayor Lightfoot. So this process started and the request started because for, I would say at least up to a year, our administration and more importantly, the residents have not had the opportunity to know what's going on financially with the records in our town. We've also looked at the investigation into what happened in Vegas, and we were not able to get answers. While we are aware that there are FBI subpoenas and a probable FBI investigation, we feel and felt the need for some answers that the community deserves, that the board deserves, and that in order for us to be on solid footing to make a plan. From the pieces that I've seen, it mirrors exactly what we knew, is that we are in a dire financial position. That is something that I think, as the numbers come in, can be extremely frustrating to the residents of this community, and we want to make sure that we are recognizing where we are and using this as a jumping point to where we can to get back where we need to be and to thrive. So we want to make sure that everybody's taking in information. We deserve to know this information. We want to echo the sentiments of Trustee Tammy Brown and saying thank you for all of the hours and all of the hard work. Not too many hours, we put a cap on it. But I want to say thank you for all of the hard work that has been put into this. We noted this as a preliminary report, but we felt it very urgent that we share the findings because we made promises to do this in a transparent manner with the community. So there still are some stages to go. I'm sure Mayor Lightfoot will talk about some of the hurdles and obstacles, and as a board, after the board has questions, the board will be present to answer what our next steps are. But without further ado, I'm going to turn over to Mayor Lightfoot.
Can you all hear me just fine, and particularly the folks in the back of the room? All right. First and foremost, I want to just emphasize a couple points that Trustee House and others have made. First of all, thank you to the trustees, to Madam Clerk, to Mike McGrath and Bert Olson. This has been a challenging investigation, to say the least, because we have not received the level of cooperation from the mayor and her team that I would have hoped. Nonetheless, we've had, I think, a breakthrough that's allowed us to be here in front of you today to give you the information that I know that the trustees for sure and the members of the public have been seeking for some time. But I do want to emphasize, this is just preliminary. We have more work to do, but as Trustee House said, we believe that it was very important to come before the members of the public so you would have some context for what the current state of your finances are as city government. As has been alluded to, I think there's going to have to be some tough decisions that are made, but you've got to make that with as complete a set of information as possible, and that's what this presentation is intended to do. Our work is ongoing, and we expect to finish with an expedited fashion, but as I said, we wanted to get to you as quickly as possible. A couple of points, just so we're all, I'm not an accountant, and I suspect many of you in the room are not, but we will be covering some accounting terms, and wanted to just make sure that everybody had the same basic level of understanding as we go through these slides. We're going to talk about how the Village of Dolton handles its accounting system. We'll talk about in length, in detail, about the preliminary assessment of the financial status. We're going to go over what we've seen as increasing expenditures since 2021, unfunded expenditures, the current cash status, credit card use. Then we'll do a summary, and then we'll entertain questions from the trustees. So let me just jump right into it. Many of you know that the village, in the same manner as other municipalities in the state, accounts for its finances using what's called fund accounting. That means, that's just a fancy word of saying, expenses and revenues are divided up into specific buckets of dollars, and those funds are what we're going to be talking about. The village maintains 3 categories of funds: a general governmental fund, the proprietary fund, and a fiduciary fund. Under each category, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Amanda, who will go into more detail about these different funds. Go ahead, Amanda, sorry about that.
So within each category of funds, there are underlying funds that are used to account for resources that are for different purposes. The first category, governmental funds, includes the general fund, which is going to be the focus of our presentation this evening. And the general fund is what's used to account for the day-to-day operations of the village. Additionally, there are what are known as special revenue funds. These are specific funds for specific purposes. This includes the motor fuel tax and TIF money. The final governmental fund is debt service funds, where the village's debt obligations are accounted for, which is primarily the public bond debt. The final 2 categories of funds, which we will not be covering today, are proprietary funds, which account for transactions that are more business in nature, operations that should be funded by customer payments. That's the water fund, the sewer fund, and the fitness center. And the final are fiduciary funds, which are held for non-governmental parties, and that is the village's pension trust fund.
So let's jump into the specifics. Many of you know that the village's fiscal year runs from May 1 to April 30th. So it's those 12 months, but they span 2 years. Certain financial disclosures are mandated under state law that the village reports to the comptroller of the state each fiscal year. 2 documents that we're going to talk specifically about are the annual financial report, and you see the citation there, it's a state law, and the audited financial statements. The village has not, and let me repeat that, the village has not complied with these statutory requirements since fiscal year 2021. There's no annual financial report available after 2021, and no audited financial statements after 2021. So what that means is the information that we're providing you has not been thoroughly audited by a CPA, but we do have information coming from an entity that essentially serves as the finance department of the village. Historically, from what we can tell, the village has had small or no full-time financial staff. At various times, even though statutorily there's a provision for a city treasurer, none exists and hasn't for some time. There's a provision for a finance director. There's been intermittent people that have served that role, but that role has been vacant as of May of this year. And before that, the person who held the role started working part-time as of the end of December in 2023. So as you can see, given the lean or no financial staff, there's a lot of dependence upon the John Kasparek accounting firm, which has functionally operated as the village's finance department for some time. What we have examined are monthly financial reports from January of 2021 to May of 2024, produced by the Kasparek firm. And as I mentioned, due to the village's failure to conduct an audited financial statement, we have to caveat the accuracy of the information, but we feel fairly confident based upon lining out not only the monthly reports, but looking at bank statements that match up with the information that's in the financial reports. And we had the opportunity to talk to some of the folks at the Kasparek firm who are responsible for managing the finances of the village, and that work is ongoing. As of May 30th of this year, the village's general fund was in a net deficit position. meaning that there is insufficient funds in that general fund. As we mentioned, the general fund is used to account for the majority of the village's day-to-day operations, including payroll and vendor payments. The village's special revenue fund and debt service fund, however, are in a positive position, but each of those funds are restricted funds, meaning you cannot borrow from one to give to the other. And that is what's causing in part the financial crisis. What's next you can see is a graphic that depicts where we started as of April, where the village started as of April of 22, with positive of $5.6 million in the general fund, and where we are as of May of 2024, which is a negative $3.65 million. Yes.
Just kind of as a summary now, just quick numbers on a 2-year span, that we're talking about a $9 million swing or $9 million of deficit over that course of time. Would that be?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, turning now to the increasing expenditures of the village. Over the last 3 fiscal years, the average monthly expenditures of the village have increased by nearly 30%. As you can see in the graphic, in fiscal year 2022, on average, the village spent about $1.9 million a month. But in the last fiscal year, that amount had climbed to $2.5 million. These increasing expenditures have not been accompanied by corresponding increases in revenue. Again, as you see in the graph of the blue bars, the revenues have remained relatively the same over that time period, around just over $24 million, while expenditures have climbed from $23 million in 2022 to $30 million in 2024. Ultimately, in fiscal years 2023 and 2024, expenditures exceeded revenue. Specifically, in 2024, it was over $5 million more in expenditures than revenues. To look further at the increasing expenditures, the table on the screen highlights the 2 village departments that are the main drivers of this spending increase: the General Administration and Administrative Compensation Department and the Police Department. Turning first to the General Administration Department. Turning first to the General Administration line, the increase in expenditures here has grown about approximately 47%. This was around $6.4 million in fiscal year 2022, and it was $9.4 million in fiscal year 2024. There have been increases in general administration spending in nearly every area, but there are a handful that stick out the most. As you can see on the first line, the largest driver of this increase is a more than double change in liability insurance costs. It's gone from $1.2 million in fiscal year 2022 to $3.2 million in fiscal year 2024. Other areas where we see large increases are miscellaneous expenditures, settlements, legal fees, and telephone.
Let me just add regarding the legal fees. These are, everything that we're representing to Unite are things that have been booked in one of the general ledgers or otherwise. We know that the legal fees that have been booked so far are underestimated because there are a number of legal fees that have yet to be paid. And obviously, with the litigation that's been filed, particularly by vendors who have not been paid, those legal fees will definitely, this is a very conservative estimate of what those fees actually are. Let me drill a little bit down also in what we're seeing so far with the police department. Those expenditures have increased approximately 21% since FY22. Some of that is obviously driven by the union contract and making sure that there's retro pay and that police officers are compensated according to the collective bargaining agreement. Within the police department expenditures, categories with large increases include overtime, other miscellaneous expenses, and I will tell you, we don't know exactly what that is, but we're working on unpacking that, contractual services, other professional services, and medical insurance. We wanted to highlight for you, particularly given overtime, what we saw as two outliers in officers. Officer Terry Young and Officer William Reed. Both of these individuals in the last 2 years have earned more in overtime than their base compensation. And you can see these numbers here. Officer Terry Young in FY 2023 earned $194,290 total, given the base salary and the overtime. And then in FY 2024, that increased to $227,351, combining the base salary and the overtime. Officer Reed for FY 2023 had a total earnings of $145,450, and in FY 2024, $192,732. We thought it also important for you to know that Acting Chief Lacey has accumulated overtime. It's our understanding that he is not part of the collective bargaining unit and has not been for some time, which under normal circumstances would mean that he is not entitled to overtime. But as you can see here, for FY 22, FY 23, and FY 24, and we're now in fiscal year 2025, through those 4 years, he's accumulated $215,747 just in overtime. Now we're going to move, ladies and gentlemen, to unfunded expenditures. And this is really focused on, as we alluded to, we're going to move to unfunded expenditures, and this is really focused on checks that have been approved by the board from warrant lists that have come before the Board of Trustees, but held and not sent to the vendors. Based on the records that we have reviewed, since March of 2023, the village has been unable to pay all of its monthly expenditures with available cash balance. Since that time, nearly every month, a portion of the checks approved and printed have been held by the village due to unavailability of funds. Per records from the John Kasperick firm, as of June 18, 2024, there are 589 checks totaling over $6 million that have been approved, printed, but not transmitted to vendors. And that is a big driver of the deficit in the general fund. This over $6 million in held checks, I want to caution, does not account for additional monies potentially owed by the village to vendors for which checks have not even been printed. These categories, which we are looking into, include, for example, invoices that have been received by village departments, but for one reason or another may not have been entered into the accounting system, which is called My Viewpoint. These invoices could have been entered into the accounting system, but not been approved by department heads or by the village administrator. And this could also include invoices that have not been approved by payment for the Board of Trustees. You're aware that from time to time, the warrant lists are presented. The trustees say, pay this, not pay that. Well, those checks that are on the warrant list roll over from time to time. And it probably makes sense just to explain really briefly. There is not a centralized repository for vendors to put their checks in electronically, or their invoices, I should say, so that it's automatically in the system. It has to be either hand-delivered or sent via email. It goes to the appropriate department head. Then it's up to that department head to approve and enter those invoices into the MyPoint system. And it depends upon the dollar amount of the invoice, who has final approval for those invoices to make it onto the warrant list. But that's the way the process works now. It will not surprise you that one of the recommendations that we will have when we finish our work is that the village invest in an automated system so that nothing falls between the cracks. The vendor will be able to see real time, where is my invoice moving through the system, and you'll know where it sits, either with the department head or otherwise.
All right, we'll turn now to discuss the cash status of the village. So the village has 22 different bank accounts. A majority of those bank accounts are designated for the special revenue funds or bond escrow funds. So the money in those bank accounts is restricted and shouldn't be used for day-to-day operations. I'll also note that these 22 accounts don't include the pension assets. The pension assets are held in separate trust accounts. Most of the village's expenditures each month are paid from one main operating bank account. As of June 30th, 2024, that bank account had a balance of $715,000. As of April 30th, 2021, that account had a balance of almost $1.5 million. So a decrease of over $750,000. In addition to the main operating account, historically the village has held its excess cash in an account known as Illinois funds. Illinois funds are interest-bearing accounts that are managed by the Illinois Treasurer's Office that allow municipalities to earn interest on their excess cash balance. The balance in the Illinois funds account as of June 30th was only $3,900. As of April 30th, 2021, that balance was over $2 million. So the balance of excess cash has dropped by over $2 million in that time period. The monthly financial reports include a summary of the unrestricted cash balances of the village each month. Within these summaries, the balance reflected already accounts for those held checks that Mayor Lightfoot was just discussing, checks that have been issued that haven't cleared because they haven't been sent yet to vendors. What you can see on the chart is that the unrestricted cash balance of the general fund has dropped from almost $5 million as of April 2022, and it is now, accounting for all of the checks that have yet to be sent, is now in a deficit position of over $5.5 million as of May of 2024.
Here we go.
We thought it was important to give you a little bit of insight into credit card use by village employees. We do not have complete information yet. It is our hope that we will get further cooperation and be able to have a complete picture of credit cards, but we wanted to share with you what we do know so far. We are aware that over this time period, from 2021 to the present, the village used 6 different credit cards at various points, from January 2021 through May of this year. 4 American Express cards that appear to have been used by various folks within the police department. The statements for these accounts were addressed to Ernest Mobley, Robert Collins, and Louis Lacey.
Mayor, I interject there for a moment. The former Deputy Chief Mobley is present with us in our amazing officer, so I'm sorry there's no misuse or misconduct on that behalf, so I want to make sure I state that because he's an exemplary officer.
Yeah, all we know was what we've seen in the paper so far. We have not interviewed any of these folks to get a better understanding of the specifics around credit card use. We have some knowledge of that, but we'll share that as part of the final report. There's 1 American Express card for which statements are addressed to Keith Freeman, the village administrator, and there was a 1/5 third card, which statements are addressed to the village. We've been told that that card is no longer in use. We understand from the records we received from the Kasperick company and interviews that we conducted that receipts for credit card purchases are rarely provided. Further, we understand that the credit card balance, because it comes due, of course, every month, we all know that, is paid as a matter of course. And it is reflected in the accounting records as miscellaneous police department expenditures. We're looking into what is the reason and rationale for that. But what this means is that these credit card bills that are paid do not appear on warrant list and are therefore not presented to the board for approval. Again, that will be a recommendation that we make, and the board is obviously aware of this issue, which is in part why they took the action that they took the other day to rein in the credit card spending. We also understand from the Kasperick company that the only time a credit card charge would be reflected on a warrant list is if a receipt is provided, and as I said, our information is that the receipts are rarely provided. We want to highlight a couple of credit card purchases. You're having the same reaction that we did with yourself. So in particular, we were very concerned to see the top 3 purchases that were highlighted for you that were booked on January 5th of 2023. That's roughly $40,000, a little more than that, in credit card purchases on Amazon in the same day. And our understanding is that the village does not have an Amazon account. These are somebody using one of the credit cards and charging these amounts using your text. We suspect we're going to see, as you can see, expenditures at Target, Walgreens, Best Buy, a number of charges that raise questions in our mind. Are these legitimate purchases using the credit cards? What we've also found in the credit cards, I know that there's been a lot of interest in travel, and we are highlighting here on this slide some of the travel that is reflected in the village credit cards. Birmingham, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama, in March of 2023 with 5 known travelers. Washington, D.C. in 2023 with 4 known travelers. Las Vegas, Nevada with 8 known travelers. Jackson, Mississippi in June of 2023 with 3 known travelers. Austin, Texas in July of 2023 with 3 known travelers. Portland, Oregon in July of 2023 with 4 travelers. Central and Southern Illinois in September of 2023. I think you're aware of what happened during that time. 10 hotel rooms booked during that travel. Travel to New York City in October of 2023, 1 traveler. Atlanta, Georgia in November of 2023, 1 traveler. On the village's credit cards. I caveat that because we will, and are continuing to look at, I'll say cross-pollination between the village and the township and the credit card use there as well. So let me summarize for you kind of what we presented, what we found so far regarding the finances. The general fund is used to pay the vast majority of the village's expenses, as you heard. As of May 31st of this year, the fund had a negative balance of $3.65 million. The village's general fund expenditures have exceeded revenues the past 2 fiscal years, ending April 30th, 2023 and April 30th, 2024. As of June 30th of this year, the cash on hand in unrestricted accounts is insufficient to cover the held checks valuing $6.1 million. We are in the current fiscal year of FY 2025, and the village has no budget that's been passed this year. The village's financial records have not been audited since FY 2021, and the village has not filed the mandated state annual reports since FY 2021. So where are we in terms of next steps? Regarding the financial information, there's a lot more work that we need to do, as I indicated. We've just recently got a lot of information in the door that is reflected for the most part in this presentation, but there are other things that we have asked for, and we're hoping that we're going to get further cooperation from the Prospera accounting firm. Additional details regarding credit card spending and any receipts that might exist. Detailed accounting records and reconciliations, check registered, which is important. Detailed accounting of inter-fund transfers and balances. What we're seeing, and we need to really look at the detail here, is that there is a transfer from one fund, in some instances there's restricted funds, into another fund, and vice versa. Additional detail, we're looking at what are the financial policies and practices in place, and whether or not those need to be changed, updated, or beefed up in any way. We are continuing to look at what happened in Las Vegas. There are two trips, one in May of 2022 and a second in May of 2023. And as I alluded to earlier, the relationship and the intermingling of funds and personnel with Thornton Township is something we're very focused on as well. We refer to the trustees.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank Mayor Lightfoot, her colleagues, as well as our legislative attorneys as well for those time and effort put into that. So again, I'll ask for a round of applause for the work that's been done. I'm going to refer to any of the board members if there's questions of the report as it has been presented. Okay, I'm going to turn over to Trustee Noel.
There's a lot to digest here. I just want for the residents that, because I know sometimes there are a lot of residents that still don't understand. For the trustees, our job is to oversee the finances. For the last 3 years, I know it looks as though there's been a lot of fighting, but we've been fighting for transparency so that things like this won't happen. We were locked out of our viewpoint maybe about a year or two ago. Once we did start sharing the receipts and information with the residents, they stopped that, right? Police overtime. In the very beginning, we stated, hey, I wasn't even totally opposed to police detail on stunts for, but what I stated was, for how long and how many, right? That's important. And it was important because now they never gave us this information, and now we see that we're spending millions of dollars in overtime, and the only one fully protected Dolton is her, and it's not fair. Vendors, you all have heard me say for the last few years, bring RFPs in front of the board, bring RFPs in front of the board. And it's extremely important that we have a process put in place so that as trustees, we can make the right decisions regarding vendors. We want these services to be provided to the residents. I want you all to know that we're never against you all receiving services, but we don't want to pay more. We don't want people receiving kickbacks and charging us way more for the services that the residents deserve. Hopefully, moving forward, we can get the mayor to work with us and provide some of this information. But in the meantime, we will continue to show up We're gonna continue to work with the residents. We're gonna continue to get you the information, right? And government's just hanging there. We're almost there. We're doing all the necessary steps in terms of the board, because we still want to try to work with this administration to the end. Our goal is still to attempt, no matter what, for the residents. So I just want you all to know that we want to work together. That's the goal. We are put here for checks and balances, and hopefully we can start bringing things in front of us. Thank you.
Yeah, Trustee Dolton.
God knows of everything in my soul to sit here and stomach this report. As we've been saying, and I'm gonna refer back to Trustee Norwood, anybody that has watched the meetings, I said, the checks are sitting on the desk, that ain't even theirs. Nobody has to come to a board meeting and tell a lie about anything. It's common sense, it's simple multiplication. When you have people emailing you every day about their invoices and payments. This goes as far back as June 9, 2022. It's sad, it's sickening. People came last month when we got our tax bills in the uproar about the tax. Can y'all imagine when we do take initiative to even start straightening this out, how our tax bills can look? That $6.8 million did never come. And it was spent before deposited. It's simple math. $6 million in checks sitting somewhere. $40,000 at Amazon. What a slap in the face to everybody that resides in 60419 zip code. The meeting and I'm so grateful for this information that you provided, because it takes somebody else to come in to show that we've been trying to stop this. And we've been doing minimal damage. So could you imagine that we just set up in and approved everything that was going on? Because she's gonna drive off with her BMW and we'll see those being stuck. We have been financially wrecked. And when people wreck people, they get anything they deserve. I'm just going to say what I've been saying for months and months and months. The bag has been empty in 2022. The bag was never anything in the bag. And you still continue to say, they're lying, they're lying, they're lying. Here is proof for everyone to see, and even the ones who doubt us. If you don't see through this, there's nothing I can say to you. Even last week, sitting with Mayor Lightfoot, it's a punch in the gut. As the lady said from out of town, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled. Led right. All of that, and for a person to sit there and constantly lie. Every board meeting, I don't say much because I just can't see how the girl tell lies like that. It's unbelievable for a person to say that and for people to believe. So we thank God for Mayor Lightfoot's being here today. Her presentation. Now, this doesn't open up the eyes to these residents and let us know what as we say, the black jobs mean black vote. Everybody tell somebody
February of 2025, clean house. This is just unbelievable. I mean, to even sit there, even though I said last week, it's a stomach ache. It's just, I've been punched all over tonight. It's ridiculous to see how our tax dollars have been recklessly spent by this young lady. So definitely, give us time, residents, we're asking you to work with us. We're doing our very, very best. So definitely hang in there with us. And thank you all again for coming out tonight.
I'm gonna also ask Attorney Olson to comment on some of the work we need to do.
So my takeaways from tonight and from what we have seen over the last 3 years that we have been legislative counsel for these trustees. Number one, the hiring of Mayor Lightfoot was not only smart, but incredibly necessary, as you said. Her work is extraordinary and will continue to produce information for this board and for the public, which you need to know and the board needs to know in order to try to right the ship. Without her and her skill and her staff, we wouldn't be sitting here tonight with this information for you. There is a lot of work to do. More financial discovery from Mayor Lightfoot, more layoffs and readjustment of personnel, leadership change at the police department, stopping of harassment of employees, and for us, lawyers, trying to work with the 40-plus lawsuits that have been filed against this village in the last 3 years. Our firm has not been paid for 3 years. Why? Because the mayor won't sign the checks in hopes of us leaving. She has a motion to fire us on every agenda and usually rails against us on every agenda. But I can tell you this, we're not leaving you, and we're staying in the I just ask as a human being, not as a lawyer, not as a politician, that the people of the village of Dolton stick with this board of trustees because they're the role in and of themselves. And I don't say that because there's an election coming, you'll get plenty of information on that, but I say that because we have hard months ahead. Knowing these finances, knowing what we just went through to get some insurance for the village, which was extraordinarily difficult and incredibly costly, we have a lot of work to do to right the ship, a lot. So I want to thank Mayor Lightfoot, who I've known for many years and admired for many years, and her staff. And I certainly want to thank the Mayor Pro Tem and the trustees and your wonderful clerk who works under difficult conditions. And who did get into the village hall today, even though the mayor changed the locks again for the third time to lock everybody out of the village hall, including the employees and the trustees that you didn't want in there. So we continue, every day there's something new. So I just want to thank Jason House and the board and Mayor Lightfoot. Thank you.
I want to highlight one comment made by Attorney Olson, Attorney McGrath. 3 years with no pay. 3 years without pay. Not many, if any, other attorney would take on that walk with the board, with the residents of this community, And it seemed that every turn as things were getting worse, Bert got more pissed. So I was just jabbing at him and saying, "You heard what she said about you?" But in all candidly speaking, there is, when we talk about partnerships and what it takes for us to try to get to an end. And I'm saying this because, as you see, we have a big hole. So we want to make sure that the partnerships continue because that's what's going to get us out of this hole as well. And I want to say thank you for the service that you guys have provided.
Yes, thank you.
I want to turn over to Mayor Lightfoot for kind of her final comments. As the board has asked questions, we're going to pause and give them a moment to exit. The board is here to answer questions, but I'm also serious about this hourly rate that I don't want to make sure we spend.
It's a friends and family.
But we want to make sure all comments are heard and rightfully so. The board is here and we'll make some comments on what our next steps and our plan is, and we're here to hear from the residents after that. But please.
I just want to share a couple of final comments with you all. I know how I felt when I started seeing these numbers, so I can imagine all of you are feeling after all this time being in the dark. And I just want to let you know that this isn't just a job, this isn't just a task. We feel this, and so we have worked very, very diligently, very hard under difficult circumstances to get as much information as we could to share with you. You may hear a number of things in the coming days, but what I can assure you is the information that we have shared, that we're putting our names on, is drawn directly from the financial records of this village. We wouldn't be here sharing this information, advising the trustees, and talking with legislative council if we didn't have confidence in the numbers. There are a number of other things we know, but we aren't ready yet. We got to verify in 20 ways for Sunday, but this, if you hear, this is fake news, it's not real. This is real. The last thing I'll say is we figured that folks would probably want to take a little time to study these numbers in a little more detail. We have 100 copies of this deck that we will leave, paper copies. So after the meeting is over, you can feel free to come get them, first come, first serve. Don't worry, media, we've already shared the electronic copies with you all, so you should have that. But again, thank you for showing up for yourselves and for your families and for your community.
We'll pause briefly to give Mayor Lightfoot and our attorneys a moment to exit and then make some final comments from the board and turn to the next steps, and then we'll open for citizens.
Thank you. Thank you. If you can grab two. Okay.